Ani bonjour, Cynthia Disneycause, Winnow Day Winakwe. My spirit name is Good-Hearted Turtle Woman. I'm Red Wolf Warrior. I'm Anishinaabe Kwe from Curve Lake First Nations, and I am of mixed ancestry of Irish and English. So it's really important for me to acknowledge all of me and all of those ancestors that I have walking with me. I just want to say welcome to the youth again for another panel of great information, I'm sure. I have really enjoyed being a part of this OK conference, and I've been learning a lot too that I can pass on to the youth that I'm going to be working with. So I hope you're getting a lot from that too, the youth. But also I want to say welcome to the panelists who are here with us today. I want to thank you for coming out and being able to share your knowledge. I am going to turn around and just go right into starting to ask questions. So I hope you're all okay with that. But first, I'm going to turn around and ask you to introduce yourself, share your name, your job title, and a bit about your company. And I guess I will start with Nick.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nick Ciccone. I'm the training director for LiUNA Local 837 Training Center. I oversee the day-to-day operations at our 3 training facilities in St. Catharines, Grimsby, and Cambridge. We actually just moved, so we're kind of upside down at our new building, but we were located in Stony Creek. Now we're in Grimsby. So very excited and happy to be here, being a part of this panelist. I've been with LiUNA for over 25 years. I can't believe how it flew. I went to school to Mohawk College, actually, in an insurance program, graduated, not expecting to be here, but it's exciting. I can't complain. I started in the field as a laborer, doing all different types of tasks, pipe laying, form setting, concrete finishing. And when I finished my college degree, I took some labor study programs and kind of worked my way into the training center as an instructor, then training coordinator, apprenticeship coordinator, and now director.
Wonderful, thank you for sharing. Next, I'm going to ask for Kira? No, wait, Kier. You say it better than mine.
Yeah, it's Kier Portress. Yeah, it's a unique name. I have to thank my dad for that. So I'm Métis and Chinese. My mom is a Chinese immigrant, and my dad actually is Métis and Scottish actually. So my grandparents or great grandparents are directly from Scotland on half that side. And Cynthia, thank you. I'm having to accept and acknowledge who you are fully, I think is an important part of what I do every day. I'm the Director of Indigenous Relations for QM Environmental. We used to be known as Quantum Murray, so many people will know Quantum Murray. And what we do is we're a national environmental services contractor. So what that means is, we do contaminated sites remediation, hazardous material abatement, demolition, and emergency response and management. A lot of those sort of overlap with each other and feed each other's business. And, the coolest thing about it is, it's a low barrier of entry as far as getting into those frontline roles. But you can move up into project managers and stuff like that. And yeah, and just being able to work in a lot of really interesting places.
Reg. Okay, so next I'm going to go to Tavis. Tavis? Okay, how about Chris?
I'm back now, if you're ready.
Oh, okay, yes, please.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Let me find for some reason it's not letting you see my face, but.
So video, Chris, is in the bottom left-hand corner. If you can click the button that says start video.
Bottom left hand, it's just got the microphone. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Hey,
Chris.
you want me to try to log in again?
Nope, that's okay. We can keep going, Chris.
So basically, XL Tool and the CTMA. So XL Tool is a manufacturing facility. We focus mostly on, well, we have apprenticeships for machinists and tool and die trades. So the apprenticeships are about 3.5 years long each. In those trades, you do become a licensed machinist or tool and die maker, supporting many manufacturing industries, from automotive to aircraft to appliance. So it's a wonderful trade. There's so many opportunities for the youth, and we're really having issues with trying to get people switched on to how high-tech manufacturing is and the opportunities that are in our industry for employment. The wages are high, the benefits are high. And quite honestly, once you have a trade as a machinist or tool and die maker, you can essentially work anywhere in the world for any company, and it's very rewarding. So if you check out our website, or you can www.xltool.com or www.ctma.com, you'll get a lot of information. There's videos. We have training programs for youth that have interest in the trade. So there's a wide variety of information there.
Thank you, Chris, for sharing. Tavis, would you like to go next?
I think we're unmuted now. We're good?
Yep.
You can hear me good. So I'm Tavis Fatanga. I'll challenge Kier for the unique name contest here today. But Tavis Fatanga, so I'm a truck driver and I'm commercial vehicle driving instructor with Zavcor Training Academy. So we are located between Fort Erie and Niagara Falls. So we're a division of Zavcor Trucking, which is a full service trucking company. We haul refrigerated commodities as well as container loads to the East Coast, mostly regional, nothing overly long haul, but some overnight stuff. But that's pretty much what we do there. In the Training Academy division, we train people to become professional truck drivers and get their A restricted or their D class license, as well as air brake endorsement. We do a full air brake endorsement class where you come up with that endorsement. You have the signing authority to do the testing and everything for that. So we come up with that endorsement over there. So we also provide training in forklift certification as well. And specifically myself, I teach drivers to perform their daily inspections. I provide the in-truck training for on-road, the back end, the truck and trailer combination. And then I also provide the in-class training for the MELT program, which is a mandatory entry-level training program. It's a 103.5-hour program that's required now by the Ministry of Transportation in order to. So, and then we also do, like I said, the air brake endorsement.
Thank you. So I want to say thank you, and I'm going to actually turn around and ask the OYAP person to introduce themselves as well.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Pat Piro. I know the screen shows my full Italian name, Pasquale, but everybody calls me Pat. I'm very happy to be here. And my background is I worked in industry for about 25 years in manufacturing and some construction as well. A little bit of everything. When you're a hands-on, I was always a hands-on learner. And that means I, gravitated to a lot of hands-on careers. I decided to go into teaching in my mid-40s. And since then, I've got about 10, 11 years as a tech teacher in construction, manufacturing, and design. Also got into co-op, and co-op is something very important and big that I want to talk about today when I get an opportunity. And I am been the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Coordinator at my school board for the past 4 or 5, I think this is year 5. Time flies. So that's me, and I'm very happy to contribute today. Thank you.
Thank you. So so we have a lot to learn today. And the first question that we have is, what is the construction industry? Would you like to go first, Kier? Actually, what happened is that you might answer all the questions, so and then we'll just ask if anybody has anything to add.
Yeah, no, good question. I'm happy to introduce that. So, the construction industry, I guess maybe from my perspective, is the building industry. So that means anything from design to, you know, building prep and building the buildings and then close out. So, after the building's ready, all the procedures that go into that. I'm actually a trained engineer, so I was trained to do the design part. And now I don't do engineering. We're a construction company, really an environmental services company. And what we do is we often prep sites. So we would go into contaminated site and we would clean it up, and we'll clean it up. Or, if there's an old building, that we can dismantle it in a safe way. So that's what hazardous material abatement is about, is going in there and things like asbestos or mold, where we specialize in that type of stuff. And our guys would go in there and dismantle it or demolish it with big machines. Yeah, I don't know if I'm sure other people can add to that, but I think that's what it is in sort of a nutshell, is really anything to do with building, I would say.
Okay, thank you for kicking that off. I'm just going to ask Nick, do you have anything to add to that, or?
Yeah, just like Kerr said, I'll add to that. It is building. That's what construction is in our laborers union, LiUNA. That's what we do. Roads, bridges, sidewalks, tunnels, dams. There's so many things that you can pick. We're also broken up into two sectors. We have the ICI, which is the industrial, commercial, institutional. Those are your stores, your offices, your schools, your hospitals. And then we have the heavy sectors, which are the roads, bridges, tunnels, the skyscrapers, and all that. So there's a lot of construction going on, especially in Hamilton now with condos going up. So a lot is happening. Pipe layers, form setters, concrete finishers. There's a whole whack of things that you can do in the construction industry.
Wonderful. Chris, would you like to add anything to what the construction industry is, and what does that totally include?
Sorry, guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes, and we can see you too, so that's great.
Yeah, the third time's the charm. I've been in and out 3 times, so that's good. So we're in a little bit different industry as far as construction. We're in manufacturing. So anything that you can see that's made out of metal, aluminum, carbon fiber, we do all that manufacturing. So machining, like tool and die is a trade that focuses on stamping of metal parts for, like if you take apart a car, all those little brackets inside a vehicle are made from progressive stamping dies. In a knife, a fork, they're made from progressive stamping dies. So it's a huge industry. Custom machining is a facet of the tool and die industry, whereas you learn how to machine, and it's not the old blacksmith type work. It's modern. It's computer. It's a lot of programming and CNC machining. We're getting into a lot of automation. So it's cutting edge, and there's huge opportunities. We have a very diverse crew here, male, female. We try to get kids out of high school. We train. So part of our apprenticeship is we train you in-house. We pay you while we train you. We send you to college. We pay for your college as part of the apprenticeship. So all that time you're earning an income while you're being trained. So recently we've given great cost increases as far as wages. Our starting rate for an apprenticeship right now is $19 an hour. And in 3.5 years, you're making between 26 and low 30s. When you specialize as a machinist or a toolmaker, your rates are up. You can be anywhere between $32 to $38 an hour, and then you can get into management, and you can become a designer, a manufacturing engineer. So there's so much opportunity, and it's one of those trades that, like construction, if you take the time to learn a trade, those skills, you'll use them forever, whether it's building your fence or your deck or your basement, and those are all great things to have in your repertoire, if you will. So
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. And you know what? It shows how much everything kind of overlaps, right? Because it's necessary to have some of what you do to actually be able to do the other jobs that people are doing within construction. So those materials are really important. And so I think that's a good example. And then I'm going to also let Tavis talk, because he's actually going to get it to where it needs to go.
Yes, thank you. Is my audio any better now? I know I was breaking up a little bit before. Is this any better?
Great, Tavis. Thank you. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, the construction industry, most people think the transportation side of it is just dump trucks on the scene and trucks that haul the equipment there. But you got to realize every single thing that arrived on that construction site has arrived by truck at some point. It was on a truck, even if it wasn't brought to that scene. But at some point, everything's been on a truck. Everything in your home has been on a truck at one point in time. And its transportation to that final location. So just an emphasis on the trucking industry isn't just the dump truck in the scene there. It's everything else that got it there. So thank you.
Okay, and Tavis, I'm going to ask you to stick around and answer the question of what types of careers exist at your company.
Sure. Yeah, at Zavcor, we've got careers. Obviously, truck drivers is one of our main things that we do. But there's positions in management, there's mechanics. We have a full service mechanic shop there. Dispatchers, we've got 4 people that sit in the dispatch office 24/7. Trainers like myself, we also have a company trainer. I work on the training academy side, training new drivers, but when the company hires a driver, we have a trainer and a company mentor that goes with that new driver and spends time, 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it takes to learn all the ins and outs of where they have to go and what they have to do. So there's the company trainer as well. We have health and safety department, the financial department, and then there's all your other typical office jobs that go along with it as well.
Thank you, Tavis, for sharing. So I'll go to Nick with the same question about what types of careers exist in your company.
So we are a construction union. At the training center, obviously, we have instructors that we bring in from the field, and they instruct our various courses, pipe laying, form setting. They also instruct our apprenticeship classes. We have 2 apprenticeships that we run. One is our construction craft worker, the other is our concrete finisher. So the possibility of becoming an instructor in your years as a laborer in the field are good, because that's where we tend to recruit from. What better people or workers to train our future than the people that are in the industry, and they have a lot of knowledge that they can bring to the table. So instructor would be probably be the bigger career in our training center, in our workplace. As for the union side of it, the labor side of it, the careers it could be anywhere from the concrete finisher, a pipe layer, a form setter, a welder, health and safety. There's demolition, custodial. We also represent healthcare, mason tending. There's a lot of career choices you can make within the laborers union. It's quite big.
Thank you, Nick. So I'm going to turn around and ask Pierre to talk about like some of the careers within your organization, but also if you could turn around, because I think there's a lot of stuff around safety within there as well. So if you could talk about that as well, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, no, great question. So the careers that we have run the full spectrum. So front end laborers, hazmat workers, demolition workers. you don't have to have any experience to do that type of work. And then we have foremen, superintendents, project managers. And as you get more experience, you can move into those roles. A lot of our project managers do have post-secondary schooling, but actually the senior VP of emergency response has no formal schooling. And so it's a really interesting industry to get into, you know, with those low barriers of entry where, you know, we've hired a handful of people in the region that I work in every day in Victoria who have zero experience. And so it's really nice to be able to provide those career pathways to people. Like I said earlier, I'm an engineer, and that's how I kind of got into my role. But you know, I've done lots of different types of construction growing up. My dad was a general contractor, so you know, essentially since I was about 11 or 12, I've had a shovel in my hand. So, you know, being in this industry helps me stay connected in those roots. But just like Cynthia, you had said, safety is hugely important. So we're a union-based company, so everyone who works for us, I guess below me, sort of in those lower roles are unionized. So they're good paying jobs, good benefits, and really good safety record. And the safety piece is people die every day on the job. Even engineers, people who, you know, aren't on work sites, engineers get, you know, get run over sometimes. And actually there's a lot of work sites who have, you know, back in only policies when you park your car, because people just end of the day, they're tired, they just want to go home, they're not paying attention. Often those types of things are really preventable, right? You just want to get home and you're just trying to do that thing real fast. And, you know, or if you don't feel safe, you have the right to refuse work, right? You have the right to know what kind of work you're doing. And, you know, really exercising those rights and understanding that, you know, as a worker, you're not paid to, you know, put yourself in danger unknowingly, and you have the right as young people, as just employees in general, to understand safety, and you have to take safety into your own hands as an individual, but your business also needs to take your safety into account. So, you know, when you bring things forward, you want to go home at the end of the day. We want you to go home at the end of the day. And actually, lots of clients want to see that safety record to make sure that whoever they're hiring is actually, you know, takes safety very seriously, because when there are deaths, when people hurt themselves on the job, it's no, you know, it's not a small thing, right? We don't want that. And so understanding safety and understanding, you know, how to be safe, and working with people who want to keep you safe and also understand that is really important. So I would encourage everyone here, you know, to make that their top priority when they go to work, because you know, no job is worth not coming home from. That's for sure.
Thank you for sharing that. And next I will go to Chris. And Chris, I'm going to ask you to share a bit about your career and how you got inspired to launch your career and what you're doing now.
So I started right out of high school. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for a career. I knew that university wasn't or post-secondary education wasn't necessarily for me, and I loved making things. So in grade 11, 12, I had a great teacher that introduced me to manufacturing and machining. From there, I did a co-op. I was one of the first co-op students in Waterloo region when co-op was invented 30 years ago. So I did my co-op, and I was fortunate to have an apprenticeship. And back that long ago, being a tool and die maker was a really big deal. I mean, in some instances, we made as much money as doctors, you know, and so I did my apprenticeship, worked through the ranks, became a tool and die maker, a machinist first, then a tool and die maker, became a lead hand, a manager, And then I wanted to progress a little bit further to manage a company, and then ownership came shortly after that. So we were a five-man shop in 2000, and by 2005 we were 50 people strong and had doubled in size. So the recession in 2008 and 9 came, and then for some reason the government stated that we were no longer a manufacturing country. We were a service country, and that was wrong. I mean, they were dead wrong when they stated that. Manufacturing is alive and well. It is cutting edge. We are on top of technology, and there's a huge shortcoming of young people that even understand the trades, that even know what a machinist is or a tool and die maker. We don't talk about it enough. So we rebounded after the recession. So now we've doubled in size again. We're still about 55 people. I should be 65 people, but you can't hire tool and die makers or machinists right now. It takes about 10 years before you're really on the top of your trade. That 3.5-year apprenticeship is really just the beginning. So, now I own 2 companies. We owned a third, we sold it. And there's so much opportunity. I always make the comment, I'm just a tool and die maker. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a genius. I worked hard and I know my trade. And I'll tell you this too. We've engineering is a very, very challenging career as far as training. To get into a university for engineering, you have to have a 98.5% average. Like, look at Keir's laughing, like he knows how hard it is. But there's another facet to that. We've made engineers here where they do a 3.5-year apprenticeship. They understand it. They know how to manufacture. Then they go on to continue their education to become engineers. And they're some of the best engineers in the world because they know how to make things. And then they have the scholastic part of it as well. So there's so many opportunities, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You start it, you work every day, we train you. There's no high pressure, there's no big tests or exams. We facilitate the apprenticeship by sending you to college. You only go to college for 2 months out of the year. And that's just to get the scholastic part so that you're able to write your C of Q once you're done your apprenticeship. And it's a wonderful, I encourage all the kids, they love YouTube. Well, YouTube tool and die, YouTube CNC machining, man, you'll find out real quick the opportunities there. And again, it's global. We have a facility in Mexico. You want to go work in Mexico? The world's your oyster.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. You did a great job. Thank you. And I'm going to ask Nick if you would turn around and share a bit about your career and what inspired you to launch into the career that you are in now.
Yeah, for sure. So I kind of mentioned it in the beginning. So I went to college for another course, insurance, and then I graduated from there and then left it alone and got into construction. Obviously, my whole family was in the construction industry, and I think that's what got me started in construction at a young age. I was actually 13 when I pushed my first wheelbarrow of concrete, and I'll tell you, having that balance to push a wheelbarrow of concrete is not easy at 13, but you learn. I like the interaction with people now, with different contractors and a youth. We have a lot of partnerships with different organizations, obviously Indigenous, YWCA, the school boards. So those partnerships, it keeps me going, and I just like interacting with all different communities and organizations within the Hamilton, Niagara area. It's just been great. I too, I like working with my hands. I kind of miss it sometimes. Sometimes I'll go in the back when the apprentices are training, and I'll just get in there just for the sake of touching a tool again, because when your hands start getting soft after when you're sitting at So it's like, okay, I need to make these rough again the way they used to be. But all kidding aside, I mean, it's been great. I love working for this organization, and again, just interacting with all the different organizations is great. And we're all making a difference for everybody. Everybody on this panel is making a difference somehow in someone's life, and I hope we do the same for the people that are watching right now.
Thank you, Nick. So I'll ask Tavis the same question.
Yeah, my career kind of started, I was a member of a volunteer fire department, and that's how I got into trucking. I needed to get a DZ license in order to drive the fire truck. So I always had an interest in truck driving, so I just went the extra mile and went for my full AZ license back in the day. And then I started doing some part-time driving jobs, and that's where I gained my experience. And then a few years later, I became a full-time driver. So I've pulled reefer vans, dry vans. I've had tankers. Tanker is what I did most of my work in, and that's what the one I like the most. I've hauled grain with hopper trailers, dump trailers, yeah, live bottom trailers. Lots of experience. I've never done flatbed. Getting too old to throw tarps on stuff, so I don't want to be doing that. But we'll let the young guys do that these days. So when I was on the fire department, I got involved in training there. I was a training officer for a while, and that's where I found that I really enjoyed the training and helping others learn some of the information that I knew. So that's how I ended up becoming a truck driving instructor. So that's where, as far as inspiration, I just kind of followed my heart. Whatever I wanted to do, or if I got bored with something or didn't enjoy it, I was going to move on to something else. I'm not spending my life doing something I'm not enjoying. So yeah, my inspiration was just follow my heart, and whatever I see I enjoy, and I go after it.
Thank you. Kier, would you like to answer that question as well, please?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of what Chris was saying about getting into the apprenticeships and stuff like that really resonates with me because, like I said earlier, my dad is a general contractor. So, I was shoveling by the time I was about 11 or whatever, 11 or 12. And I really wanted to get into the trades. I've done pretty much laboring in almost every trade that I think I know. And they were just jobs when I was younger. And, I'd work for friends' dads or friends when they started companies. And actually, when 2008, when the recession came along, I moved to BC. And right before the recession hit, BC was booming. Lots of work. And so I was like, okay, I'm ready to have a career. And I moved to BC, and then the recession hit. And I was like, okay, I have to rethink my career because I couldn't get a job. I literally went into an electrician shop, and the guy said, okay, so I just laid off 30 people. Why do I hire you? That was the question for him that he had for me. And it was legitimate, right? He had a handful of guys who he worked with for years who had way more skills than I did. And so I rethought about what I had to do. And so I went back to school is really what happened. Luckily, I worked really hard. I was able to get into engineering program. You don't necessarily need that 98.5% that Chris was saying, but it is a very demanding program. And the reason why I went into engineering was because I liked building. I had some experience in building. And I wanted to kind of be in a job that I was going to find really interesting. And I thought that designing and being connected to the building industry was the way to do it. And luckily, my skills and other things actually led me into a more supportive office position. And I'm not necessarily on the tools really ever. And I do a lot more, discussion and interacting with clients and partners than I thought that I would. I thought I was going to be a designer or project manager. And my life experience and the skills that I bring and that I've developed through my career is really how I got there. And a lot of that comes from, you know, when I was a teenager, I was maybe not following the right path, but I was still building skills. And, you know, who I am today as a professional is a direct result of what I was doing and the skills that I built as a teenager and as a young adult, without really knowing the direction that I was going to go, but really understanding that eventually I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to have a career, and you know, school was part of that journey for me to find out how that was. So, you know, I would encourage everyone just to, you know, think about, you know, what they want to be in the future. And, you know, if you don't have the answer, that's okay. You know, I didn't have the answer when I was 17. I didn't have the answer when I was in my early 20s. And, you know, I bet you some of the people on this panel you know, are still exploring, you know, what they love in what they do. So yeah, I think that's about it for me.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. So next, I'm just kind of wondering if anyone would like to talk about the tools or the technology. I think you all have a bit, but Chris would like to go, and please take it away.
Yeah, just I've been answering some questions here that have been coming up, so I might want to address those. And one specifically that I'm passionate about is women in the trade. We just think it's wonderful that girls are starting to understand that there's opportunities in the trades for them. They have great dexterity with their hands, and they have focus, and they have work ethic, and there's not a lot of, I mean, there's some lifting, but not big heavy lifting anymore. We have cranes, and you know what I mean? You don't have to be a big, strong person to do our job. And the computer side of things is, so there's huge opportunities. I have three females on the floor right now. I wanted Lindsay on this call, but she's off on maternity leave. Lindsay is a female tool and die maker with Indigenous status, and she's got a family, and she oh my gosh, she's so good at her job. We just hired Sarah out of high school, and she's running our EDM wire EDM department. So females in the trade are huge. In regards to tools, we do have specific tools that are required for our trade. When you get hired, what we do is we set up a program where we loan you the money to buy your tools and a toolbox and the tools that you need for your trade, because we deal with a lot of high tolerance, so very accurate sizes, if you will. So your tools have to be very meticulously cared for. So we want you to own your own tools, not have to borrow them or that sort of thing. So we lend you the money, you pay it back as you make money, you pay it off a little bit at a time, and then you've got your tools to get started. So
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for sharing about women getting involved in the trades as well. Yes, I think it's a really great opportunity for them.
huge opportunities, yeah.
Nick, do you have anything you'd like to share about the tools or?
Yeah, tools, equipment, it all depends. There's a lot of tools I can mention, but depending on the type of work you'll be doing, there are many tools, as I said, and equipment to perform the jobs that you're doing: shovels, hammers, picks, rakes, saws, to mention a few. Different types of equipment. You could be operating a skid steer, mini excavator, forklift, backhoe, scissor lift, boom lifts. There's so many out there, and there's a lot of different equipment. And hopefully we train them well here at our training center to use them properly and safely. So there's a lot of equipment and tools that you'll be using for different jobs that you'll be doing.
Wonderful, thank you. Tavis, would you like to go next?
Sure. As far as tools in trucking, I guess technology is the biggest advancement in trucking. We're doing GPS now. Gone are the days where you're in a strange city you've never been to, going to a customer you've never seen before and struggling with a map, trying to figure out exactly where this street is and finding out that there's two streets with the same name. So GPS now is very handy. You don't want to rely on it 100%, but it definitely gives you a way to get around now. You don't have to look at maps. You don't have to chase things. You see when your next turn is exactly. It tells you 3 kilometers you have to turn or whatever. So electronic logging is coming into Canada. It's already in the States. So again, gone are the days where you're filling out paper logs all day long and trying to figure out how these little lines have to line up for 15 minutes here and half an hour there. So now everything's done electronically. It just as soon as you start the truck up, your e-log starts to work. So that kind of technology is basically what's changed. Things are a little easier now on drivers. They got more comfort in the trucks, driver friendly, airbags, things like that. That was never in a truck before. So it's made it. The tools that have come out have made it a lot safer for everybody involved.
Thank you. And Kier, would you like to share some?
Yeah, for sure. So in the environmental industry, a big part of the tools and equipment we use is around safety. So in hazmat, it can be a half face respirator or essentially like a huge suit, depending on what kind of materials you're dealing with. And a huge part of that is understanding that our employee safety is paramount. Right. When I was in the trades, I've worked for companies and I was young buck and I was like, well, I don't need that. And then now I'm like, oh, yeah. Why did I do that? And I hear some other people laughing, which, I think, is a very common thing, right? Is when you're a young guy, you think you're invincible. But I bet some of the people on the call here, everyone knows an older guy in the trades who wishes he had known more about safety, who wishes they had taken more time to be safe on the job. So we're smarter now. There's a lot more information, a lot more understanding, and unions are probably a big part of that safety piece is requiring employers to ensure that they're being safe. But because we work in that industry, that's of utmost importance. And then there's jobs like heavy equipment operators. So, there's nobody who needs to buy their own tools for what we do. But the people who are using our tools, like some of those pieces of equipment are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so understanding and being really careful about the way that you work is really important, because a good heavy equipment operator will save you money in the long run and will be more employable, because people, just they don't want to see you go, because the downtime on your equipment, because you use it properly, because you're careful, because you care for it, is hugely important. And it's the difference between an extra 10,000 or few $1,000s a year and not. And I bet Tavis can talk about that from the trucking side, in that care and safety piece, because if you don't care for your equipment, if you don't care for your tools, they become unsafe. And anyone who uses them when they're unsafe is at danger. And I think having that safety aspect is really important. So whether it's, working with asbestos or whether it's working with a piece of equipment, it doesn't matter if it's a shovel or a big excavator. Their safety is really important, and understanding how to use tools is super important.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Okay, so next I'm going to go into transferable skills, because in everything that we do, we can transfer some of those skills over to the different areas that we go into. I know I've had lots of different experiences, and it sounds like everybody else has been sharing some of that as well. So I'm going to keep it with you here right now. So if you could turn around and talk about that, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. Transferable skills, problem solving, I think, is the biggest one. It doesn't matter if you're a laborer or heavy equipment operator, project manager. problem solving is hugely important, right? You don't just want to stand there and just be like, well, it's wet, right? It's like, okay, it's wet. So how do we dry it off? How do we, what tools do we use? I think are hugely important. The other side too is people skills. So understanding how to work with people. And again, I'll refer to when I was younger. When I was younger, I didn't really care. I would speak my mind, and again, as a young guy, that's fine. But now, really having a little bit more experience, having those people skills to understand, when, read the room. Right? Is this the right time to crack a joke? Is this the right time to throw some dirt on somebody? Right? To have that fun on the job site, is a great way to build bonds and stuff like that. But it's also a great way to break those bonds if you're not doing it at the right time. If you're not reading, sometimes people just have bad days. And if you can read that, then, it's the difference between cracking a joke and saying, hey, everything okay? Right? And then, like, I worked with when I was landscaping, I worked with this one guy, and we had a really long day, and I just left at the end of the day. I didn't say anything, and he called me on the way home, and he was like, hey man, like, what's up? I was like, dude, I'm just hungry. Like, I wasn't expecting to work a 12-hour day, and I needed food. So he was like, okay, cool, I'll see you tomorrow. Right? So I think those two things are hugely important, and they can go, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're a laborer or, the senior VP, both those skills will serve you really well.
Wonderful. Nick, would you like to go next with a transferable skill that's important?
Yes, so a few transferable skills to keep in mind. Communication skill is very important. Not only to make sure that you're communicating with your coworkers, but it becomes a safety issue as well. You need to speak up. You can't shy away if there's an issue that needs to be addressed. It could kill somebody, it could injure someone, so you need to make sure you're communicating. Another skill to keep in mind, teamwork. That's another skill that's good. It goes hand in hand with communication, but it also involves conflict resolution, any decision making that you're doing, solving a problem, and just being reliable on the job site. Lastly, I'd say maybe leadership skills is an excellent skill to have or to learn. It might not happen right now, but in your industry, you might become a leader and run your own crew. Not only for your self-development, but it'll help your development of your coworkers as well.
Thank you, Nick. And Chris, can you answer transferable skills?
Yeah, I agree with everyone so far. I mean, there's so many skills just to be in a trade and working environment. I at one point started making a PowerPoint presentation because when I speak about transferable skills, I like to save money. So I like to think of things that are gonna add value to my family without having to put a bunch of money out. So I started, I wanted a dirt bike, so I bought a dirt bike. The first thing I did was I tore that dirt bike right down to the frame and the motor. And my wife came out and said, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing? You just bought it." I'm like, "Well, I have to make sure I'm not going to die when I hit that jump." So and then I had another instance, like my washer and dryer broke. So I got a hand carrying it out in the garage. I tore it all apart. I replaced the bearings and the pump. And I remember my son's high school teacher lives in our neighborhood, and I had the garage open, and he said, he came over and said, "Oh, Chris, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, my bearings are gone. I'm replacing them. It's a $20 part. The washer is worth $1,100. So for $20, I'm fixing it." And this is a well-educated man. He said, "I wish I could do that." Like things like that. You can build your deck, you can build your fence, you can finish your basement. These are things that and you can help people build things. It's once you're in the manufacturing industry and you see what we deal with, what we take apart, what we design, what we build, you start to have those skills that will last you a lifetime.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. Tavis, one or two transferable skills.
Yeah, working with technology. You guys previously pretty much covered everything, but working with technology is a big thing that you can use that everywhere you go. Um, Dealing with people over long distances, you can't be in the same location, so your communication has to be over distance. And so you have to understand things in that respect. So the interactions with people are skills, how to interact with people. Everybody's different. So every industry, you kind of pick up all on these same skills. So I don't have a whole lot to add. The previous speakers pretty much covered a lot there. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so I want to turn around and talk with Pat for a little bit. I just really have a question about what are the opportunities with OYAP, and how can students gain real skills for the real world through the programs and apprenticeships?
Hi, yes, thank you. Thank you for giving me a turn. It's been fantastic. The information from this group is awesome. There are some amazing employers and organizations on the group here, everyone. And and I hope that the students and some of the parents, guardians that have been on are really listening, because this information is so valuable, and everything from safety to men and women, and it doesn't matter what your background is or where you were born, your culture. It's the jobs are there, and if you have the hands-on skills, the problem-solving skills, good math skills, and most of the technical trades careers, of course, communication, teamwork, independent work. There's so many things you can learn and gain. And I'd like to add and share that no matter what field you're thinking about going into, and I say this to high school students, I speak to all the grade 10 students in my school board. That's about 2,500 kids that take careers classes. I pop in there and I do presentations. And if you want to go into the skilled trades, or you want to be a doctor, or you want to be a lawyer, or you want to be an electrician, hairstylist, try the career, test drive it, take cooperative education. We'll put you in a law office and see if that's what you want to do for the next 30 to 40 years after high school. I've taught co-op so many times, and I've had students say, that was a great experience. I met a lot of great people. The networking is fantastic. I have experience I could put on my resume. I learned new skills, but I don't think I want to do this job for, after I finish high school. And you've learned a valuable lesson right there. So to tie it to the skilled trades, anytime you're doing co-op I've got that poster here that was shown earlier in some of the other presentations today, but there are 144 different apprenticeship pathways that will get you to these amazing careers. So when a student is in welding, tool and die, construction craft worker, electrician, hairstyling, they are participating in OYAP. So as a cooperative education student, you're now participating in OYAP, which means that you're building these relationships with an employer, and possibly that employer may want to sign you. They might want to be your sponsor. If you enjoy working there and they would think that you would be a valuable asset to their organization, that's where the OYAP program can take you to the next level. Starting with co-op, then we could do a training agreement. A training agreement can be registered in the province of Ontario, and now you are a registered apprentice and you're still in high school. Your co-op courses are giving you credits to graduate, and your OYAP participation is giving you the opportunity to learn the competencies and pocket some of those hours. So a 4 or 5 year apprenticeship might be 3.5 years, maybe, if you take co-op a number of times in that same particular career trade. So that's how I want to end it, that cooperative education is test driving careers, and we can connect it to the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program and fast track a student's career path to some amazing skilled trades jobs, well-paying jobs. And as you heard from all our very knowledgeable guests today. There's a demand and a need, and we could use you.
Thank you, Pat. So, Chris, do you have anything that you would like to add about the real skills and programs, maybe with apprenticeships?
Yeah, I just want to touch on that, and OYAP and co-op is a great way to get into our trade. We don't have a union. We're all just you're not tied to any union. You're a tradesperson. You can move around and do whatever you want, which is kind of nice. I want to tell kids that, sometimes I started volunteering with the CTMA, Canadian Tooling Machining Association. And if you go to CTMA.com, we have a website. It's an association of about 160 members. I started volunteering there to give back to my industry, to try to get kids switched on, I go in and talk at high schools. I talk to classes in OYAP and co-op. So if you really want to see, we have 160 members. Go on the website, go view members, and all those companies, you can apply for a job to get an apprenticeship. So if you tell them you want to do an apprenticeship, they'll hire you if they have a position and give you the opportunity to do that. I also want to tell the kids, in trying to understand today's youth, which I think our parents did the same thing as we're doing now. We just want to understand you and understand what you want and need. And I don't want to sell you to get into the trade as a lifelong career. It can be if you want it to be, but keep in mind this too: if you put the time in and have the work ethic and work for 3.5 years and finish that apprenticeship, you could become a firefighter, a police officer. You could get into engineering. You could do anything you want. Fire departments love people with trades. They go looking for that. So you don't have to have this 45-year plan. I know tool and die makers that became electricians and plumbers. So it's just you just got to get your feet in on something and don't be afraid of it. And it doesn't have to be a lifelong commitment. So just give it a shot and check out the CTMA, please.
Thank you so much for adding that. Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to add around OYAP and co-op?
Yeah, I'd love to add something. So co-op, through apprenticeship, working and learning go hand in hand. Engineering and higher education is the same. So, I think everyone here obviously is part of some sort of trades or construction. So it makes sense to them. When you start going into that higher education, and some people on this call today, may take a different career and may go into social work or something else at those levels. I would encourage you to look at co-op programs in those post-secondary levels, because just like Pat was saying, it's actually more about finding out what you don't want to do than it is about what you want to do. And I would encourage everyone to really take the time to explore lots of different careers, to find out what they do like and what they don't like. And when you do find something that you do like, sometimes leave to find out maybe there's something you don't like, and then come back, because you're always building those careers and you're always trying to find something. And when you do it through post-secondary, a lot of those co-op positions are only 4 months or 8 months at a time. And so what happens is you're able to explore in a way that doesn't necessarily make you look like a bad worker, for instance, right? There's not, when you're in school, when you do a 4-month placement, It's very different if, hey, you know, on my resume, I have like 16 jobs that I've only worked about 3-4 months each. When you are doing those co-op programs and, you know, those types of programs, you can say, yeah, those were just short-term things. And I did that and I gained lots of experience and I learned that I didn't want to do that, right? It's a different conversation than, oh yeah, I worked at like, again, these 16 places and, you know, I got fired or, you know, I quit for whatever reasons. It's like, it shows people that you have a, you know, that drive to, you know, do a little bit more than just work, I think. And those things on your resume to help build your resume is definitely a good way to do that.
Thank you. And next I'll go to Nick.
Yes, thanks. Just to add in regards to OYAP, we've been involved with OYAP since 2001 and worked closely with Pat and Joachim from the public board. It's been great, and the guys are right there. It's a great step to take through high school. I just wanted to share a quick story. We just had our last OYAP class. We had 2 apprentices that didn't even graduate yet because our program ended in April. They didn't graduate yet. They got signed on by a company. They signed into the union. They're making, I believe, $28 or $29 an hour. They got their benefits, working towards their pension. So it just shows you how awesome this OYAP program works for these high school students. So these students, like I said, didn't even graduate high school yet. They got into the union and are working with the utilities company. So it's great. And another thing, when they're coming here to do the any of the apprenticeships, and not only are they taking that apprenticeship, we might be doing some sort of a work or skill that might open their eyes to another trade. It might not be what they want to do, but for example, we did a room that the students set some tiles, and he didn't pursue the construction craft worker, but him setting up, you know, tiles, he's a tile setter today. So it opened his eyes. So that's what it's all about.
Wonderful. Thank you for all of you sharing that. Tavis, did you have anything that you wanted to share about OYAP?
No, not really. The trucking industry doesn't really fall under the apprenticeship rules. So I guess the old joke goes, if you're not smart enough to get into the trades, come on and be a truck driver.
That's terrible. I know
There's a
of
lot to
smart
being a truck driver.
Yeah. Actually, there's a lot more, and there's the regulations around being truck driver. That's, you know, are increasing too. I did see one question earlier, and this is a question for Chris, that somebody was asking, what's a stamping die?
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but you know, I'll defer it to you because I want to hear the actual answer.
So I encourage them to, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
I encourage them to go on YouTube. I mean, kids are on YouTube all the time, just YouTube stamping dies. So a stamping die, basically what it does is it forms metal. So, and I always use a basic concept like a spoon. You eat with a spoon every day. Something has to make that shape. So basically what you have is you have the female shape with a spoon on the bottom and the male shape on the top, and a stamping die comes together, presses that shape and cuts that spoon out. So anything that's metal, you know, in your office, you know, even keys, a key has to be stamped out of a sheet of metal with that shape in it, and then they grind the shape in it. So everything that's metal, door handles, anything, it's all stamped in metal die stamping. And there's so many different variations of that, but it's basically forming metal, and in all different industries.
Okay, so that's a great segue here. So thank you for starting to ask those questions or answer those questions, Chris, as well from the youth. I just want to take this moment right now to turn around and thank all of the panelists and allowing me to be here with you today, and thank you for sharing all of your knowledge. I've really quite enjoyed it. So I think the youth have gained a lot of good information. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass it over to Jillian, who has been a great support throughout this, and she will be also asking questions that the youth have typed in. So take it away, Jillian.
Right. Thank you, Cynthia. And actually, our panelists had knocked it out of the park, answering all the questions, right? Two birds, one stone. Look at that. So I actually want to thank our panelists, Kier and Tavis and Chris and Nick. Who do we have? Pasquale. Did I say everybody? Yeah, I was like, thank you so much for not only giving all your time to one another on the panel, but you guys were answering questions, off the fly. So that's really, really great. And we had a lot of interest from our youth. And I'm actually very proud of the engagement in this session. Nick, did you have one more thing to add? I see your hand is still up, hon.
Sorry, no, I forgot to take it down. Sorry.
Oh,
We're
you're just
good.
saying ciao for now, right?
There you go.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, we're actually not going to do a Q&A because all of the questions, the curiosity of our youth have been answered, all in thanks for you all. Kier, is that a ciao for now or is that an ad?
No, I have an ad. I think one of the big things is, and we've heard it a few times, and I've probably said it a couple times too, is, keep exploring. Because you're not ready for a career, or because you don't find something that you like, doesn't mean that you're a failure, or it doesn't mean that you're not doing well. It just means you're still on your journey. I was in my mid-20s when I went back to school. And that served me well, not because I went to school, but because I had a better idea of what I wanted to do. And that led me into other opportunities and having that idea. And so I think, it's a journey, it's not a place. So, I would encourage you that, depending on what you're doing, and now it doesn't mean it's always going to be what you're going to be doing, because people have lots of different careers now. And then I saw a couple things pop up here, maybe. What kind of jobs do you offer with heavy equipment operators? I'm not sure if that's for me or somebody else, but we do have heavy equipment operators working with us in our remediation. So, like earthworks type civil work is something that they do. Also in demolition. So in demolition, our operators actually use very specific kind of heavy equipment. Like big shears, essentially huge scissors that they use to like cut metal in buildings. So those jobs are very, they have transferable skills within the industry, but people who work demolition with those big shears and other specialized equipment with the heavy equipment, it's a specialized skill set to learn how to do that. Also, we have sometimes use these really big heavy equipment with really long arms, actually, like long reach excavators, they're called. Look them up. And that again is a skill that's maybe a little different from just running a normal excavator. So there's lots of that type of stuff. And then skid steers and other things or we can put people to work on. But happy to open the floor to anyone else too.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Kier. I definitely am taking, the fact that, even for myself, listening to the opportunities in apprenticeship, I find myself as old as I am, right, gearing towards something that's more hands-on, something that I can be side by side somebody. And actually there was conversation started throughout this panel that talked about mentorship, right? And that led me to connect with volunteering. So some of us come from very tight-knit communities, and for myself, that volunteer, right, Cynthia? I think I had mentioned even voluntold. I was always, told to volunteer, and, you have to get out there, you have to go and help. And especially coming from strong Indigenous background and connection to family, it was like being voluntold was, your grandma saying, hey, get out there, go and help that person, or go on and learn, and kind of explore those new challenges. But I can honestly say within my own journey that volunteering had actually, allowed me to be able to land jobs, like you guys had mentioned, that, sometimes the dedication of your time and commitment to something to connect with community and people goes an absolute long way. So it's definitely a huge encouragement for our youth to volunteer as much as they can, and that'll open up doors for them to one day be leaders themselves and to share and transmit those transferable skills that come with that. So I appreciate your touching words at the end there, your encouragement. Everybody, this is a great panel. Everyone was connecting and everyone was like vibrating on that same note. So thank you so much. We have just two quick questions that we'll do. We're going to be staying on the screen, and I invite our panelists, if you'd like to stay on the screen. Larissa is going to show us our next steps, but before Larissa comes on, I'm just going to read one more. How often does OYAP do Zoom meetings like this?
Oh, wow. Great question. How often do we do Zoom meetings like this? So I would say that, whenever there is a event, something like this, Opportunity Knocks, and we've done many others, and done information sessions with my own school board. We had a Pathways night within my own school board a couple of weeks ago, which we did internally, but we did all these Teams links. So when you say Zoom, I mean, we use many other platforms as well. Someone mentioned, technology earlier. My laptop seems to be very comfortable with Google and Zoom and Teams. And so I try to get involved as much as I can, because there's only one of me and there's 10,000 students in high school. And, if we could reach a few at a time, or we try to reach larger groups if we can. And I know I invited a lot of students to this, but I don't know how many actually attended. But so to answer your question, frequently. Yeah, we try to do events like this frequently. And sometimes we specialize in certain trades, like maybe construction craft worker. Nick and I were talking about doing a symposium. And sometimes, we might focus on some other careers like automotive service. So, but to do large groups like this, I take advantage whenever we can. So there's so many other coordinators like myself that were on previous calls. And we all work really well together. And so it's not just myself. There's a lot of every school board. So there's 72 school boards has an OYAP person, and try to reach out to many people.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pat, for the invitation to stay connected in many different ways. So it's a wrap for our construction panel. What an awesome panel. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I know this will not be the last our students connect with you. I think they're really inspired to stay connected. Thank you for being you. Thank you for sharing good energy in our panel. And again, you're welcome to stay to watch this next video. Larissa, this is where are you, hon? There we go. This is where you take it over.
Awesome. So we just wrapped up our construction panel discussion. Next up, we're going to take a break. We're going to dance. We're going to stretch. We've got the Haudenosaunee war dance and smoke dance that you can click on. That is pre-recorded. We also have a video that you can learn more about Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. You can simply click the Watch Now button to check that out. And then we've got the scavenger hunt. And I know that Jillian's been doing such a great job of making sure that everybody understands the prizes, and we're going to help to make sure that everybody's able to complete the scavenger hunt. So click on this link. It will open up a form that you can complete and answer some questions, and your chance to win. And the winners will be announced this week. You'll receive an email. After that, we've got a video that you can learn about the IEC, one of our great partners, the International Experience Canada. That is also pre-recorded. So I encourage you, yes, watch the dance, stretch, but also get some lunch. and then join us back here by clicking on the RBC link, or you can also click on the RBC keynote presentation. They both will link to the exact same Zoom call, which starts at 12:15 sharp. So we will see you back here at 12:15. You can also download a keynote worksheet. I really encourage you to do that because this will complement our Olympian, a sailor, and she's going to talk about her journey as well. So see you back here at 12:15. And if you've got any questions, as always, feel free to join our tech room or our quiet room. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
Bye.
Bye-bye
Great.
for now.
Bye.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank
You as well. Thank you.